Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Eric here, and once again I'm back with another statue repair. This time around we have Scorpion from xmstudios. This was a quarter scale statue. It's from the Spider-Man line. This is one of Spider-Man's villains from the Sinister Six. I absolutely love everything about this statue. I love the way it looks. It's just a really fantastic statue overall. So it was a pleasure to be able to work on this for my client. Just in general, I love things that are mechanical looking. I love things that are robotic looking, biomechanical. So just had a lot of fun working on this one. So as you can see, we have Scorpion's tail. That's what we're going to be fixing today in the video. The tail had snapped into two pieces, as you can see. So now there actually was a metal rod running throughout the tail, but it just so happened that it stopped exactly right where it broke. So we had a metal rod coming from where it keys in, where the peg is, and it ran all the way up throughout the tail, but it stopped exactly right where the break happened. So that's a shame. I guess they weren't able to continue the rod all the way throughout the tail. So taking a look at this piece, you're going to see that there's already a hole there. I had drilled out the previous peg that was there holding the two halves together of the tail. So during the manufacturing process, I'm assuming that each one was molded individually and then keyed together before painting. But, you know, the way these are manufactured, it was a polystone peg holding the two halves together. And that peg just wasn't enough to hold the weight of the tail, and it happened to break, and we were left with two pieces. So now, normally when attaching two broken halves of a statue like this, I like to reinforce the two pieces with some type of, metal rod. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to insert the metal rod into each piece as far as I would like it to go, just because, like I said, from the factory, there's already a metal rod which happens to stop right at the tip right there. It's about 1 inch in. So I'm going to use a bolt, a very thick bolt with threads, just so it adheres better and grips better onto the two pieces. It should be enough to hold the two pieces together in the end. But yeah, usually I would use something a little bit longer. But as mentioned, because of the metal rod that's already within the statue and just the way it curves, I really can't add that long of a rod that I would like to. But I'm pretty confident it'll hold. And so yeah, we're going to get that fixed up and have it looking brand new. So looking at the two halves, I'm just doing a dry fit test to see how it goes back. It was somewhat of a clean break. There is a few little chips here and there. It doesn't perfectly line up, so there will be a little bit of a gap. I'm going to have to go in once I get this glued back together with some epoxy glue and using the metal bolt to hold it together. I'll have to go back in and fill in those gaps with some epoxy sculpt before sanding everything down back flat again and then going back in and matching the paint. So here's a look at the bolt I'll be using. Again, it's a little bit shorter than I would normally use. Also, the hole is off-centered. I would have preferred that the hole be a little bit more centered, but I'm using the existing hole that was already there holding the two halves together. As mentioned, it was a polystone peg holding the two halves together, and it had snapped and broken inside. So yeah, I'll be using the two existing holes. I did bore them out a little bit bigger to accommodate for the bigger bolt size. So just test fitting that right now before getting the glue ready. I'll be using some epoxy welding glue. If you need any info about what type of glue I use, I have a video all about it and how to use it and how to apply it. I'll leave a little link on top of the video as well as in the description down below. So now that everything is test fitted and looking good, we can go in with the epoxy glue and get this glued back together and then go on from there. So I'm mixing up my glue. This is a 2-part epoxy. You mix equal halves together. One of the things I love about this glue is it turns into a paste. But yeah, basically we're just mixing it up at this point before applying it into the hole and getting that metal rod glued into place. So with this specific type of epoxy glue, it dries very quickly. You have about 6 minutes to work with it before it completely hardens up. So that's just one of the reasons I was doing a lot of test fitting before I go and apply this, because once this stuff sticks together, there's no getting it back off. So I'm just globbing the glue into the hole right now, packing it in there as much as possible, just enough so that it doesn't ooze out. I'll be doing the same to both halves, just packing in as much glue as I can into each hole, and then we'll be putting in the metal rod and joining the two pieces together. Okay, so now that I got the two halves joined together, I'm just going to hold this in place for about 6 minutes, let the glue take effect and dry a little bit, and then I'm going to let it cure probably overnight and get back to work on this the next day. Okay, so it's the next day. The epoxy glue had time to dry. It's holding up very well. Everything's looking great. Very happy with the results so far. As you can see, the area is painted black. That's actually primer. I went in and masked off the rest of the tail, except for that one little section, and I primed the area just to fill in any gaps so I wouldn't have to do too much epoxy work in the next step. Also, the primer allows me to be able to sand the two areas nice and flat so we get a nice smooth surface before laying down the paint. So now that we have this all primed, there's still some work to be done as far as fixing the sculpt. There were still a few chips, and I do need to still go back in and touch up the gaps a little bit with some epoxy sculpt. So that will be in the next step. Okay, and here it is at the next stage of the repair. I had gone in with some epoxy sculpt to repair those cylinder tubes on the outsides, as well as fill in the gaps going around. Everything was sanded nice and smooth, and now it's ready for a little bit more primer and then paint, which will follow up in the next step. And here we are with the final look. The repair is all done. Everything turned out amazing. It looks incredible. I couldn't be happier with the result. Guys, I try to capture as much as I can on camera, but it's just too hard to film everything. So I try to video as much as I can in between the steps. But yeah, as far as like the painting goes, that type of stuff, I kind of have to do off camera. So I apologize that you're not seeing the full process, but I try to show as much as I can. But yeah, basically with this paint job, it's a mechanical scorpion tail. It's meant to look, robotic. So it's hard to pick up on camera, but if you look at it up close, it has like this metallic sheen to it. So it's actually base coated with silver paint. And then they had used a clear green, almost like a lime green color, and overlaid it on top of the silver. So when you're looking at this in person, you kind of see hints of that silver color underneath the green because they used a clear green. So during the repair, that's what I had done. I went in with a silver base coat on top of the primer, laid down the silver, and then I went in with a transparent green, kind of like a lime green. If you look at it, the way it's reflecting in the light, sometimes it kind of looks like maybe like a candy apple green, and then other times it looks like a lime green. It's just the way the light and reflection plays off of this type of color. So it was definitely a little bit challenging to get everything to color match, but I think I have it almost near perfect, and I'm really happy with the result. It looks really nice in person as well as on camera. But yeah, it was base coated with silver, and then I went in with an overlay of transparent green. And then to tie everything in all together, it was clear coated with a matte finish to protect the paint and give it a little bit more of a shine. So I had already sent my client some pictures of the repair. They approved. Everything's looking good. So this one's going to be getting boxed up and shipped back out. Another successful repair. I still have tons of repair videos coming, so stay tuned to the channel. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next project. Take care.
You do too much. You're not Superman, you know.
I'm Spider-Man.